Let's talk about a period in history that didn't just change things. It fundamentally reshaped our entire world. It was this incredible time of explosive creativity, huge intellectual shifts, and just radical new beginnings. This is the story of a world reborn, the Renaissance. So the word itself, Renaissance, literally means rebirth. And honestly, that's exactly what it was. It was this huge, sprawling, complex transition that pulled Europe out of the medieval world and really set it on the path to our modern age. And the first sparks, they ignited way back in 14th century Italy. But hearing the word rebirth makes you ask a pretty crucial question, right? A rebirth from what, exactly? And a rebirth to what? That's the central mystery we're going to unravel today. To answer that, we first have to look at the sparks that lit the fire. We've got to understand the key catalysts that set this incredible change in motion. You can almost think of it as a perfect storm. It all starts kicking off in the 1300s as that old, really rigid feudal system begins to crumble. Then, two massive events hit at almost the same time. In 1453, the historic city of Constantinople falls, and right around that same decade, a totally revolutionary invention appears, the printing press. So let's connect those dots, because this is where it gets interesting. The fall of Constantinople sends this wave of Greek scholars fleeing to Italy, and they're carrying a treasure trove of ancient Greek and Roman manuscripts, stuff that was thought to be lost for centuries. As they arrive, the old feudal order is breaking down, giving people way more freedom to think for themselves and to move around. Then bam, the printing press acts like a massive amplifier. It was basically the internet of its day, taking all these rediscovered ideas and spreading them like wildfire. You add in new trade routes that were blowing people's minds with new goods and cultures, and you have the perfect recipe for an intellectual explosion. And this perfect storm of events didn't just lead to a few new ideas. It created a radical new worldview. This wasn't just about new tech or some old books. It was a fundamental shift in how people saw their place in the universe. Humanity itself was about to take center stage. And this right here illustrates that change perfectly. The medieval mindset was overwhelmingly focused on God and the divine. The authority of the church was everything, and life on earth was seen as just a preparation for the afterlife. The Renaissance mindset, though, it turned its gaze right back down to earth. It started celebrating human potential, championing reason and observation, and actually finding value and joy in the here and now. This new philosophy was called Humanism. Now, it's really important to get this right. It wasn't about rejecting spirituality, but it was about elevating humanity. The focus shifted to human dignity, to our vast potential, and to the real, lived, earthly experience. And what powered humanism? Something called the Spirit of Enquiry. You could even argue that this was the true engine of the Renaissance. It was this new, bold commitment to asking why, to questioning authority, and instead relying on your own reason, on observation, and on experimentation to figure things out. And you can see this new spirit just exploding across culture. In art, you had masters like Da Vinci and Michelangelo using totally new techniques like perspective to glorify the human form with this breathtaking realism. In literature, writers like Shakespeare and Petrarch started exploring complex human themes, and they did it in everyday languages, not just stuffy academic Latin. And in science, well, this same spirit led Copernicus to completely upend our view of the cosmos, proposing that maybe, just maybe, the Earth revolved around the sun. But this was way more than just a cultural boom. I mean, the Renaissance laid the very foundations of the modern world, with consequences that are absolutely still shaping our lives today. Think about it. Questioning the church? That paved the way for the Protestant Reformation, which split Christendom forever. Politically, new ideas strengthened the power of monarchs and fostered these new feelings of national identity, which would eventually lead to the nation-states we have today. And socially, it fueled the rise of a powerful new middle class of traders and lawyers, totally reordering the old structure of society. But its most profound legacy? Well, it might have been intellectual. The birth of the scientific outlook, rooted in that very same spirit of inquiry, permanently changed how we understand the universe. It is the direct ancestor of all modern science. Full stop. But we have to acknowledge the whole complex picture here. The same spirit of discovery that opened minds also unleashed a much, much darker force. It directly fueled the age of European colonization, creating a brutal legacy of exploitation and violence across Africa, Asia, and the Americas that we are still grappling with today. So we're left with this really complex, contradictory legacy, aren't we? The Renaissance sparked incredible progress, modern science, and the very idea of individual freedom. But at the same time, it unleashed the devastating forces of global colonization. And that leaves us with a really challenging final question. How do we hold both of those truths at once?